Serenity611, who says, "Go Fire, go Pest. You are both amazing and the HK community is so excited for this race." Well, Serenity, guess what? It's time! Here's Hollow Knight!
Hello, my name is Shayfe. I'm joined alongside Paum, bringing you Hollow Knight. 80%, no major glitches. We're just going to get right into it. Count the runners down immediately. fireb0rn and Pest are ready to go. Gentlemen, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So Pest is the world record holder in this category with a 32.55. fireb0rn has a 33.07. Pest did get the first 32X in this category. Fire, the perennial record holder until Pest took it 2 months ago. Fire's had a habit of reclaiming the record within days whenever it's been taken from him, but he hasn't been on the grind to get it back this time. Pest has been looking pretty solid in the streams, while Fire, for the most part, hasn't been streaming, so we don't have a whole lot of first-hand evidence of how his practice has been looking. And traditionally, Pest has been fairly self-deprecating despite his achievements, including this, his third record. And the way he plays very much swings based on how confident he's feeling that day. Fire, meanwhile, always confident in his ability.
One sec, my controller has decided to not work, so I need to double check something. I'm very sorry.
Looks like we are probably going to get a reset here. Looks like Pest's controller isn't working.
Yeah, it looks like Fire notices too, which is the important part, and we'll just waste a minute of your time, and then we'll go back to resetting here.
The controller decided to not start, and my attack button does not work.
In the meantime, I want to mention we do have an incentive for this run. It is save or leave the grub. And right now, it appears as though save the grub has $5,000 and leave the grub has 2.5. So if you want to make sure you leave the grub and save the frames, you got 2.5K worth of catching up to do. While they get set here and we get confirmation once Pest's controller is up, keep on giving you a little bit of background here. Tough category between the two top runners. It should be an excellent show. It is a Metroidvania, and what that means is you get a skill, which goes to another place to get another skill, and then so on and so forth until you can end up beating the game. Looks like Pest has his controller back and active. We'll just get confirmation here and give him another countdown when they're ready to go. Pest, you good?
Yep.
Pest is good to go. All right, so he's working, and we are back on track to begin. Gentlemen, again, on your marks in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So resource management is going to be a pretty big deal in this game here, Paum. We're going to be talking about soul, health, and geo specifically, all very tightly routed in this category.
Yeah, and as the run continues, as it's been routed throughout the years, those have only gotten more and more tight. Any percent notorious for very exact geo routing, you're likely going to see these guys within 5 or 10 geo of what they need to be at. But for now, at the very beginning of the game, geo, soul, all that not too important until we get past this first split. Some stuff that you will see right away is inventory dropping. So like you saw at the very beginning of the game, they pause the game and unpause, which gives them control. And then they open the inventory, and something you'll see a lot during this run, what that does is it uncaps your fall speed. Otherwise, you can only fall at a certain speed. With your inventory open, you can fall as far, as long as you want and keep accelerating. The other thing is when you hit the ground, you won't get a hard fall, so you won't be locked for something like 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, and this is played on an older patch 1221, for a variety of reasons. That is one of them on the current patch. You can still do the inventory drop, but you have to do it kind of as you're leaving a ledge, whereas you can just jump in the air and then do it on 1221. We're also going to be addressing a few other things that come up when they do, including hitting levers through walls. In the meantime, looks like Pest has just a little bit of a lead coming into Dirtmouth, bit of a better King's Pass, and this is the only time you're going to see the runners jumping without any apparent reason. There's a slow zone in Dirtmouth, probably because Elderbug is a cool dude and the game wants you to talk to him, but other than that, runners will be able to go at full speed. And coming up, we're going to be heading down to pick up our first skill, Vengeful Spirit, and another inventory drop. Some RNG in this room.
Yeah, at the very beginning of this run, the horizontal movement, there's not too much tech to it. You go just as fast jumping as walking, so it doesn't matter too much what you do outside of that slow zone. Falling vertically, there is that inventory drop, which they're both going to showcase here. Fire, unfortunately, getting hit once by the Gruzzer, kind of the first, I say major, pretty minor time loss. It is RNG in that room, as Shayfe said, so sometimes you get hit, sometimes you don't. Fortunately, it looks like they'll be probably 2 seconds or so apart coming into this Aspen arena.
Yep, and there's a trick that you can do here to hit that spike and kill both of the Aspas. Pest only gets 1, Fire gets 2, so he's going to recover a little bit of time and just barely squeak out the door, slightly ahead of Pest. Neck and neck screen sync coming up here. Talking about RNG, this is a game that does have some elements of RNG, and as we go to pick up Fireball, there's going to be another element that we're coming across. There's a big monster known as balders, and they spit little baby balders, and it has a 50-50 chance in order to either give you the baby balder or a fireball, and that is sort of one of the initial reset points of this game.
Yeah, the better you get at the run and the tighter you have to have your time, the more that RNG starts to matter. If you're going for something like the speedrun achievement at 5 hours, or even anything near an hour time, a 50-minute time, you tend not to notice that too much, but these guys, I mean, Fire with a 33 and Pest with 32 is actually insane in this run. Every little bit of RNG matters. That 1 second it takes for the balder to spit out a baby balder, that can make the difference.
Yeah, and we're just a little brief note as we head over to the False Night here as well. Going back onto that resource management, you can see the Soul Globe there, effectively a mana globe. Healing is something the runners are not going to be wanting to do. Obviously, taking damage is not something you want to do, but the healing costs time as well, forcing the runners to sit in one spot for a second and a little bit. And we'll see how the False Night fight goes. Pretty simple stuff. You just want to knock him in midair, and then when the little mega head comes out, you punch that a bunch of times. And a developer intended skip, as you can just poke your way through this door here.
Yep, and the soul doesn't matter too much right now. Again, they're not in too much danger. They don't have to heal. They don't even have BS or Fireball to use the soul. What does matter, even though it might seem minimal here, is the 18 to 22 geo difference. It's small, it's only 4 geo, but that really can make the difference. They need to be at 206. That's the magic number we're looking for, 206 geo by the time they get Mantis Claw, which will be in a bit. But they'll be very tightly routed. So even that 4 geo lead for Pest might make up for the maybe second or so lead that Fire has coming into VS right now.
Yeah, I mean, Fire's going to have to find a way to make some of that up. Probably take a couple hits on a mini Moss Charger or something and pause to collect the Geo. Something like that. Could come down to Vengefly King RNG in the way that the Geo splits off after you kill that boss as well. So a number of different places for fireb0rn to be able to catch up on this small little lead that Pest has, just barely. And fireb0rn, in the meantime, golded his Vengeful Spirit split.
Pest notorious for some really fast burst splits, so I'm sure Pest has a faster time than that. That's not a comm saw, but that is, according to the splits that we see here, Fire's best time, which is pretty sick that he golded it during GDQ. But we don't have too much time to talk about that. They're going to be coming up to the Balder that Shayfe mentioned earlier here. They have full soul, that's not a problem at this point in the run at least, but we're going to want to see mini Balders being spit. So we'll see how many Fire gets. 2 Fireballs first, 1 spit. Alright, only 1 spit for Fire, not too bad. And was that 2? I was
that was an extra 1 for Pest, so he's 1 behind, basically. So a little bit of time loss for Pest, and a little bit of an advantage here for Fire. But as mentioned, Fire does have that 4 geo deficit to make up, and Pest as well is down 1 HP. And we're going to have a little bit of tech coming up here with the Fireballs as we head into Green Path in order to pick up the dash skill, Mothwing Cloak. When you cast a fireball, it knocks you backwards. So if you jump at the right time in Green Path, we'll point it out when we get there, and then turn around and cast a fireball, it will actually give you enough distance in order to be able to skip walking around the intended route.
Yeah, and that's a trick that these guys honestly get like 90-95% of the time. It's just, we'll see if the nerves get them here. You'll see Fire coming up to the first one right now. This only takes 1 fireball if you do it right, and he gets it. A little tight, but he gets it at the end. Pest, who's at 3 HP right now, is worth noting. That's a little bit scary to be starting Green Path. He won't get the turnaround, so a little bit of nerves there. It can definitely be tough in this kind of a situation.
That's not the most costly of fireball skips to miss. There's one that has you looping all the way around and would cost you probably on the order of about a minute if you ended up missing it. And that one is coming up next. We'll see how they perform. Pest has taken 2 damage. Just something to point out. He's probably fine.
Yeah, Fire and Pest both low on soul here. You want to be at full soul. You see Fire's 1 short. Pest is going to try to hit these birds. Has a lot of trouble. Fire gets the fireballs, though, which is good for him. But Pest is short 2 soul. So So he'll really need to farm in this next room if he can hit this fireball skip. He might also go for a single. A single fireball is possible. He will go for a double, just play it safe.
Couple extra hits
Fire?
on the little mini moss there for Fire, looking to collect a little bit of a geo. As you mentioned, we'll see what Pest does in terms of his soul management here. And it is 102 to 97 right now on the geo count. Again, very tightly routed category, so that kind of thing is important. Pest does do the double fireball for the last fireball skip. And now we're coming up to Vengefly King, a somewhat recent route change in order to acquire just a little bit more geo and save time later in the run.
I don't even know if we can call it recent anymore, man.
Yeah,
We're
I
just
suppose.
But yeah, you do tend to kill Vengefly King up here for, I don't remember how much it is anymore. Like 45, 55 geo? Maybe more. Something 5 geo. But you'll see Fire get it right up here. He's going to try to get full soul here, or at least up to 7. So he wants 7 hits on these enemies. He's at 3 right now. And you'll see Pest following him, of course, doing the same kind of thing. Fire's at 6 hits. He should be pretty easily able to get 7, even 8 hits. And see if he can get the quick kill. He gets it a little scuffed, but he ends up getting it in the end. We'll see how Pest does.
That does take the damage tank, the appropriate decision in that situation. And yeah, Pest is going to just hold up a little bit, collect that little bit of that extra geo, goes up to 208, and Fire's still at 201, as you mentioned. 206 looking to be the key number here. And he does get 6 off of that mini-moss, so he is now in good shape.
Yep, he manages. And also something to note, very impressive from Pest. He hasn't taken a single point of damage in Green Path. He's taken it in the split, but only before entering Green Path. It was really important, especially in a race setting, to maintain that 3 HP that he has. He can play a pretty comfortable Hornet fight here. And speaking of Hornet, Fireborn's already in the fight.
Jumping up, getting Hornet bullied into the corner here, looking to try and get double hits if possible with Hornet moving away, something you're going to see a lot in the boss fights here. Throws another fireball, doesn't look like it quite hit, didn't hear it on his screen, but otherwise a fairly clean fight. Pest in the meanwhile on the other side of your screen, jumping over the needle and has her into the corner, jumping up, gets another nail and a fireball to finish it off. And according to his splits, Fire lost a little bit of time, but he did double gold the first 2 splits, by the way, which, again, marathon setting, pretty impressive stuff.
I'm almost skeptical, man. I don't know if you got a Green Path gold with 1 spit Balder. That's kind of insane. He is at a really good pace, though. Like, these guys are both on sub 8 easily past Cloak. Probably sub 750.
So one of the things that you can do in this game here is the save it quits. The save is positioned on the last bench that you have taken. So if the runners don't bench, basically they save and quit and they go back to the last bench. And that allows for a little bit of faster routing. We're going to be coming up, heading over to Mantis Claw now. And one of the sort of barriers, I would say, for early runners is going to be Explosion Pogo a little bit before we get to that. And it looks like Fire's got some pretty clean movement. Pest also matching up as well, is shaking off some of those early nerves, looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the fireball skip, the Pest barely missed, and he really did barely miss it. He almost got on that corner. There's been really clean movement by these guys. These drops through fungal actually take a lot of practice. If you don't know which way you're going, you can really get caught up in these vertical rims more than you might think, but for now it's a pretty clean movement.
So about a 10-second advantage at the minute for Fireborn. If you dash through this room perfectly, or reasonably, it's not too precise, you can just dash over the last gap in the acid there. Doesn't really save or lose time. Both of the runners, however, getting the clean dashes. You like to see it. Tends to be the case where runners will time their dashes, and that's just kind of in part out of the way that the game is programmed. And here comes Explosion Pogo now on Fireborn's side, right side. Ooh, he misses it. Opportunity for Pest to catch up. Fireborn has to reset. That's about a 3 or 4 second time loss. He does get the second try. Pest gets it first, and we are close to synced once again.
Yeah, probably even more than 3 or 4 seconds, because Pest was pretty far behind. Fire was starting to creep out a lead, but now they're within a couple seconds of each other, and we're going to see Mantis Pogo, another thing that can swing the tide. 2 Pogos, Fire manages to do it, and Pest does it in the same way, barely getting over that corner. Dash can kind of push you over corners if you're really close to the edge, and that's exactly what happened with Pest there.
Yeah, just a 1 second separation between the runners now as they pick up Mantis Claw. And you're going to see another save and quit here, and they are going to be heading over to kill Grub's Mother for a little bit more geo, and also access to another skip where we're going to take an intentional death in order to be able to pogo off a shade.
Yeah, we got a lot of skips at the start of the game. The intended route after Fanglo, and spoilers here, if you didn't think you were getting spoilers, is to get the city crest from False Knight, who they skipped, they avoided killing because that takes time and time is evil. And from the city crest go into the left side of the city and you can do a few things from there. But the right side of the city is much better for our purposes, so we're going to go down to Salubra, and it'll be about a minute or so and we'll explain what happens when we do the Shade skip itself, a pretty cool skip.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of RNG on the Grubmother fight as well in terms of the way that she moves in the arena. Sometimes if you get the high kill, Geo can go into the ceiling, which is bad. As mentioned, the Geo routing in this pretty tight, pretty close right now between the runners 212 to 214 in favor of Pest. A little bit more comfortable. Looking pretty good, though, for this stage where we want to go and head in. 50 of that is going to be spent unlocking this Stag Station, which we will use to head back to Crystal Peaks a little bit later on.
Yep, the first kind of Geo hurdle is over. Like we mentioned, that 206 is the number that you're shooting for. They'll get the rest of what they need from Grubmother, and they'll have enough to buy Shaman. But the Geo's not over for the entire run. They do still need a certain amount by city, just to get a few more tolls, and the big cost of this run is Lumafly Lantern from Sly. We'll see much later on.
Yeah, one of the main sources of income in the game here is relics, the Hallownest Seal, the Wanderer's Journal, Arcane Egg, that kind of thing. You're not going to be seeing the egg in this run. Pretty clean first phase from both of the runners, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you go and sell to Lem, and you can get a whole bunch of money. Cleanup. Will we get janitorial services for both of the runners? Fire will get the first crack at it. Jumps up, 2 fireballs, misses 3 of the Gruzz's. Pest in the meantime looks like he got the full cleanup and the wall storage. That is excellent janitorial work there, Pest.
Yeah, and something to mention even before the cleanup there, the strat they did on Grubmother, fairly recent, that pogoing strat where you follow Grubmother all the way up, that is very hard to do. Like, that is very impressive that they both managed to do it. It takes 6 nail hits and they both got it without wasting any time there. Either way, though, here we'll start seeing the Shade skip set up. This is intentional damage from both runners. They are not just accidentally suddenly hitting every enemy in the game.
Yeah, we need to go and purchase the lantern from Sly, who is that little bug creature right there. So we need to talk to him in order to send him back to Dirtmouth, first of all, and some more intentional damage. We have picked up a charm, by the way, a Shaman Stone, which increases the damage and size of spells, which is important for being able to get double hits on bosses, as alluded to in the Hornet fight. So Shade is set up for fireb0rn. He has a very specific way that he likes to do this. Hop on the wall a couple times, and then dash over, pogo, dash, wall climb, and excellent. Both runners getting it at about the same time.
Yeah, Pest got a fireball from the Shade, which unfortunately loses a little bit of time, but it doesn't hurt your setup too much. It is a fairly lenient trick. It looks really cool. It's hard to do the first couple times you try it, but once you get it, it's not too bad. So now we'll just see them synchronized swimming across Blue Lake as they head toward Dream Mill.
Who knew the GDQ had Olympics? So this is the first of the lever skips that we're going to talk about. Just poking that through the floor. That's not really a critical one. You can still do that in CPU, I think?
Yeah, one of the only ones.
Yeah. So we're going to talk to the Dreamers here. These are what lock the Black Egg Temple at the end of the game. Lore stuff, so on and so forth. We need to go and collect the Dreamers in order to be able to access the game. The Dream Nail is something that we acquire in order to be able to do that, because the Dreamers, surprise, surprise, are in dreams, and Dream Nail gives you access to said dreams.
A couple just kind of housekeeping things as we watch this cutscene and go across the dream platforms. We are in Chinese. The reason for that is because text scrolls faster. It's a pretty common theme in speedrunning. It is faster than Japanese for this game. Another thing to note, which won't come up too much in this run, but will come up if you decide to run Hollow Knight yourself, we do have a load remover. So the load time, the time it takes to get to a new room, is going to be CPU dependent, and we don't want that, so we have a community that made a nice mod, or not a mod, a timer, that does not count that time in your runs. We also have 56 who decided to make the loads for both these guys the exact same, so we can have this kind of race scenario where both their loads will take the same amount of time, and neither of them should be gaining or losing time from their CPU.
Indeed, and while we get one more cutscene here, Brutal Mellow, you want to squeeze in a couple quick donations?
Yes, certainly. How about $500 from Cyan Griffin, who says, anyone who voted to leave the grub is a monster. I guess I'm a monster, because that's where my vote goes. We also have $150 from Carbonite Pandora, who says, great job to everyone that made SGDQ happen during this crazy time we call 2020. Good luck to all the runners.
And speaking of that grub incentive, we got 6.8k for save, 3k roughly, just a little bit over for leave. So if you want to save those frames, you got to start chipping in a little bit more cash there, folks. In the meantime, we have picked up Dream now. We are heading our way over to the City of Tears. Some excellent music and a whole lot of enemies and some tight geo-routing as well. Continuing on here, probably one of the scarier splits to move through faster in the mid-game.
Yeah, there's just so much that can go wrong in the city split. There's nothing in particular that's exceptionally difficult, but just a whole split. You have to be moving precisely. You'll even see Pest stretch back, put his heads in his hands just to prepare for it. Getting Geo in this split is something you need to do. Where you get Geo is kind of up to you. So you'll see Fire. These fireballs are pretty standard. Get the 50 Geo from these 3 enemies. Now, you may or may not see them get Geo from the bottom row here. Kind of a new route is not to get these guys Geo, so you'll see them both avoid it. Later on in City, we'll actually have more enemies that we'll be using our Fireball on. The only reason we're using Fireball, of course, just kills them quicker, we can get our Geo quicker, and move on with the route.
Just a couple seconds advantage for fireb0rn as we enter the mid-game here. Paul going off his fights to collect the Hollow Knight seal again. Going to be selling that to Lem later on in order to gain a little bit more money. We're also going to be killing a Husk, a gorgeous Husk, as the runners take a bench there. That is sort of optional, but in a race setting, kind of not.
Yeah, that bench definitely something you want to take in a race. If you end up dying to Watcher Knights or any point in City, you're going to respawn all the way back by Salubra. If you remember, we did a shade skip there. You'll no longer have your shade. You'll have to lose all your money. Everything kind of goes downhill if you don't take that bench and end up dying here. It's really just a reset, but of course, in a race setting, resetting not possible. You want to talk about this gorgeous Husk kill shade?
Yeah, so just going to get a couple nail hits, upswing, nail hit on the other direction, fireball, looking for more double hits, and 420 Geo collected for fireb0rn. Pushing himself over 500 Pest as well. Pest shaking his head. Even though you can't see it, we can, and it didn't seem like he was terribly pleased with that gorgeous Husk. So we're going to be coming up on the fated, the terrible, the casual playthrough, frustration building Watcher Knights. And in any percent, it is an incredibly difficult fight. Definitely one of the tougher categories for it. It's sort of throughout this run, you've kind of seen the runners use their nails in very specific patterns in order to be able to farm up soul. Watcher Knights not going to be any exception, as they're going to be looking to get 4 nail hits per Watcher Knight before jumping around and sending off some fireballs. Here is a dark room. You might be wondering why we talked already about Lantern and how we have to go to get it. There is a hard lock later on in Crystal Peak, so that's the only dark room that you're going to see. Also, developer intended Watcher Knight kill here off the chandelier.
Yep, this will kill one of the Watcher Knights. If you didn't know about it casually, that's your little tip. You only have to play against 5 instead of 6. And these guys are going to enter the fight at the same time. They're so neck and neck just to make it as difficult as possible to commentate that. So thanks a lot. Fire's going to start with this bad pattern. There's 3 things they can do. One of the things they can do is jump up, which you'll see happening with Fire right now. And Pest, they're both getting probably the worst attack. You'd rather them roll or just swing at you. When they swing it, you can get that nail damage and get the soul for your fireballs, and they both can go into the second phase about the same time.
Getting the Dream now to farm a little bit of extra soul. Fire positions himself off to the left, gets a pogo and a parry there as they stacked up, takes the damage as he gets rolled into the corner, but does manage to squeeze himself out and get a fireball connecting on 2 Watcher Knights. Meanwhile, Pest having a pretty clean fight here, does get the position that he wants to fireball over to the right. fireb0rn having some trouble in the corner, does get the double kill, pauses in frustration though, as he's going to be beginning his third phase. Pest, meanwhile, on the other side of your screen, has 1 Watcher Knight in the corner, jumps around, has taken 1 hit of damage. Nice dodge away from the roll there. Excellent reflexes from Pest. Jumps back around, gets a couple other fireballs in. fireb0rn also trying to squeeze in those doubles. The Watcher Knight's just not cooperating. Gets a parry and dives over to the other side in order to get a fireball and get one of the Watcher Knights rid of, and should only be a couple more hits here. There's the last fireball, but it was not the most favorable RNG there for fireb0rn. Taking a time loss on the pause as well. He lost a significant amount of time there, and Pest now has retaken the lead.
Yeah, and the reason that pause happens, the reason that he paused, you see it pretty rarely, but if you kill both of the Watcher Knights on the same frame, I think it is, or 1 frame apart, for some reason the game just soft locks until you pause and unpause. It's just what happens when you down patch to a patch that's 2 years before.
Pest did go for something of an iceless jump there, if you're a Mega Man X fan. Didn't quite get it, lost a little bit of time as we are collecting Lurian, and then we're basically going to be going on a farming trip now for the rest of this split in about 3 or 4 minutes. So Brutal Mellow, you can crank away any announcements or donations that you have.
Ooh, we have plenty. You have $250 from Eden's Puzzle, who says, fireb0rn's speedrunning guide is how I got the speedrun achievements for the first time. Love Hollow Knight and the GDQ so much. Thanks for everything you're doing. Best of luck. And $100 from Lotad Lover, who says, Hollow Knight hype! I recently fell in love with this game when I decided to pick it up on the summer sale. This donation is in honor of the best $10 I've ever spent. We got $50 from Alex50, who says, just completed my first 112% Hollow Knight run. Looking forward to seeing the game completed just a little bit faster. $25 from Rasco Lenick, who says, isn't this a speedrunning event? Leave the grub. Save the frames. Let's see where we're at actually with that grub incentive. Wow, it's not even close. The Save the Grub is at $7,012.57. Leave the Grub is at $3,062 flat. So it looks like you guys really want to save the Grub, but let's see if we can make a final push for that Leave the Grub.
I love that you see Pest smiling there and Fire shaking his head. Very appropriate.
$200 from Meatbag-esque, who says, shout out to my Hollow Knight randomizer racing pals and my posting pals in the Spooky Ghost hot tub. And as Twitch chat is posting out here, if y'all haven't noticed, we just hit $225,000.
Well, if you're good on donations for now, we're coming up to King Station here. We got a few more rooms to go through, but once we get there, we're going to be going toward Crystal Peaks, and Crystal Peaks is a super fun area, full of a lot of movement. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. First, you'll see Pest going up this route, and they'll both get it. That jump, that very first jump in King Station, actually quite hard to get. It's pretty precise. Some people argue that it's more precise than others. And Pest looking down here as he unlocks the toll. Does he get it? Yeah. That bell will appear instantly if you look down, aptly named the scurry look down after the person who found it. But they'll both get the bell right away. It just causes the stag to come a little bit earlier, a couple seconds. Worth saving the frames if you can. And they'll go up to Lem here to end this split and buy Lantern. They both do have enough money. 2023, where Fire's at, is the bare minimum you need for the rest of the run. So he's very tight on Geo, but he should be okay.
Couple second advantage here for Pest. There's the Lantern, as mentioned earlier on, does have the hard lock as you head into Crystal Peak. It's the only reason that we end up picking up the Lantern is because of that hard lock, and it is also consequently the reason that we do all of that geo farming, grabbing all the relics and Wanderer's Journals and etc, etc. So this is a stag station that we opened up a long time ago now, 40-50 geo, closer to the beginning of the run, and now the Crossroads is infected. This happens whenever you unlock your first dreamer, and you come up over here with a couple nice pogos from Fire, and then you unlock this little gate here. You do the scurry look down once again. Another wall storage interaction there. Basically, it just sort of preserves your dash momentum as you dash into the gate, and it allows you to get a little bit of extra speed. So we are going to see, in all likelihood, from Pest, the attempt at Pogax.
Oh, we hope so. Pogax, something that used to be considered completely out of the question. It saves a couple of seconds. It's very scary to do. Now that we've hyped up, it's going to go for it. Oh, he is. Dude, I love Pest. You're going to wait for this guy to throw the pickaxe, pogo it, and yes, he'll cling off the side, and Fire is going to go for it too. It looks like it. We need another pickaxe throw. He doesn't throw the pickaxe. That's really tough for Fire. Sometimes it can just happen like that. Have to go around the left side. Is going to lose a few seconds to Pest here.
Yeah, the setup for that Pest actually found gives you about a 90% consistency. Eliminates most of the RNG on that, but there is just that 10% where the miner is not going to cooperate and throw the pickaxe. So more of an advantage here for Pest. This damage tanking pretty much intentional. And we're going to be operating on cycles here. This is probably one of the more important portions of the run where you need to pay attention to your cycles and your movement in order to be able to get through the lasers the way that you want.
Yep, that's going to be in a couple runs here. We're just going to do a few inventory drops. But while they're doing those drops, I just want to say, like, these guys are on insane pace. Like, this is a sick pace. This is a sick race. These guys are within 10 seconds of each other throughout the entire run. No one's made any big mistakes. Like, this is really joy to watch.
Yeah, just a couple elements of RNG, pretty much. The homophily fireball there from Pest getting the air stall also refreshes your dash, intentional damage tank. A little pause there, dashing through the lasers, gonna do another jump up right over here, and wait, dash, and goes under the platform.
Yeah.
Swag gamer.
Saves barely a little bit of time to dash twice. If you dash off a platform, as you'll see, you actually get your dash back, so Fire does it right there as well. He dashes and can dash again to get under that platform, save just a little bit of time on his way to Crystal Heart. They'll both pick it up. What do you say, about 10 seconds apart? About a 10-second lead for Pest, it looks like?
Yeah, that's about right. And so another save and quit here to go back to our last bench in Dartmouth, and we're going to be heading over now to the fated, the cursed, the run-killing, cycle-based jellyfish known as Umu. Nobody likes Umu.
No. A super difficult boss, both in terms of execution and RNG. The whole idea with Umu is Umu has 300 health. The very most that you can do to Umu in one cycle is 150 damage. So if you do the math, you can barely get a 2-cycle if both of your cycles are perfect. And that both requires really quick nail and fireballs and good execution, and it requires Umu to be a little bit nice, because Umu can attack you either 3 times or 4 times on the first cycle, or 2 or 3 on the second. There's different types of attacks, different ways Umu can move. It's all a mess that these guys have to figure out on the fly.
I just saw there the first of 2 acid skips on Pest's side, clinging to the wall and then using the crystal dash to dash over. You would otherwise need Isma's tier, but we don't have to get that because it is slower. A little bit of soul farming here on these little miniature jellyfish as we go to Teacher's Archives and get prepared to face off against Umu. Quick reminder, again, just to bring it up, because time is going to be coming up on it very shortly. We're going to have to cut it off as we head over to Beast Den, save the grub, 7.2k, leave the grub, 3.2k.
Let's go to the left side here. This is a fairly new strategy. People used to go to the right side of Teacher's Archives to get down toward Umu here, and Pest will be the one to start the Umu fight first. On 4 HP, HP not too much of an issue for Umu, at least not as much as Watching Eggs. He's going to Dream Nail once to get full soul. If you don't know, the Dream Nail does actually collect soul off enemies, and he has a very specific setup that he's doing C-dashing on this wall. He's going to bring Umu to the right, he's going to bring Umu down there. All these C-dashes, him running into that platform, healing on this platform, all of this is intentional and planned. Umu looks to be in a pretty good spot, maybe a bit low, but I don't know exactly how Pest likes his jellyfish. It looks like he's going to bring him even lower. So this should be the first cycle. We'll see if he does it right.
Looks
intentional damage.
Looks like Fire got extra attack there as well. Yes, he did.
I think Pest got that.
No, Pest just got the 2 attacks, I think.
No, yeah, not an extra attack. I think Pest actually got the cycle in the weirdest way. I've seen a lot of nail hits early, but it works if it works. And I think Fire got it too. I'm pretty sure they both could 2-cycle this. Pest is on a good point to 2-cycle. He's getting the nail hits, and he actually gets the 2-cycle. Insane job by Pest. 150 damage. He'll applaud himself a little bit. You deserve it, man.
fireb0rn getting a lot of slow attacks here from Umu. That is an intentional dip into the acid in order to reset on the platform, but gets the extra again. He's down to 1 HP, but he does get Coral to cooperate. Misses the last fireball, doesn't quite connect. That is a massive time loss and a dangerous situation right now for fireb0rn.
Yeah, fireb0rn got so... Oh my god, what are you doing, Fire? He got much less lucky with the attacks. I think a 4th attack and a 3rd attack from Fire, and he almost still got it. He just missed that one nail hitter fireball at the end. Should be a nail hit, yeah. So he'll get a 3 cycle, barely staying alive on 1 HP, playing with our hearts there.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty massive separation here now. There isn't a whole lot of room left, barring a drastic error from Pest for Fire in order to be able to catch up. There's no, like, there's the Queen's Garden acid skip, which you can fail a couple times, but these runners are good enough to be able to nail it first or second try. Beast Den can possibly cause a death. There's a lot of dangerous stuff there, but after that, it's just the Hollow Knight fight. So in the meantime, as we head off towards Beast Den, Brutal Mellow, it is time to close out the bid war for save or leave the grub. Can we get a final decision on that, please?
Let's double check here real quick. I'm just gonna refresh, and I feel like there's no possible way anything changed. But, let's see. We are at $7,217 for Save the Grub, and that has won.
Alrighty, so Fire is going to be very upset. Pets is going to be very, very happy. Giving the thumbs up as well. Yeah, loves to see it. So Queen's Garden acid skip, it's the same as the other acid skip that you saw, except it's a lot more precise here, Paum.
Yeah, it's super precise. It's not frame perfect or pixel perfect, but it can feel like it is timed. They're going to grab at the very edge of this wall. Pest gets it first try, so has to get over the other edge. He cancels it, slips down just a little bit, but gets the jump off. So that acid does respawn you at the start, so at the right side of that pool. First try is really good for Pest there. Fire's going to be coming up to it shortly. He is a little behind. It's not only that extra cycle that Fire took, but also that he got an extra attack in both the first and second cycle. That's so many more attacks from Umu, and such a big time differential that Fire has to make up here somehow.
Yeah, it's a big unfortunate. He's, I marked it when Pest grabbed the wall. Looks like it's going to be about 40 seconds or so. Yeah, just under 40 seconds difference, and Fire does not get it first try. That's alright, he gets it second try. 4 health is completely fine for what he's doing. Intentional damage there from Pest, by the way, in order to get the hazard respawn. That's just based on your position on the screen. Save some time, get the lever, and now we're going to be dropping down and heading towards Beast Den. If you're interested in running this, by the way, and QTA looks really nasty, 2 things. It just comes down to practice. You'll be able to get it within a reasonable amount of time. It is a fairly difficult trick, but there is also an alternate route going down below through Deep Nest the long way. It's only about 40 seconds slower. So as a starting runner, not too big a deal, and it's also a lot safer.
Yeah, speaking of safety, we've talked... Oh, wow, Fire gets the double-double, but ends up doing another fireball anyway. But we've talked about kind of how tight the Geo is and how tight the Soul can be at times. This is where health really matters. From Maman, so that's the second Dreamer they got right after Umu, all the way to Hera, so that's the Dreamer at the end of Beast Den. There are 3 intentional damage tanks. You already saw one. Both these guys intentionally fell into spikes there to respawn next to the lever to unlock a gate. There's going to be 2 more coming up with the Devouts. So, given those 3 intentional pieces of damage, if you're going the Queen's Garden route, through these 5 minutes of gameplay, you can afford to get hit exactly 1 time if you don't want to waste time to healing.
And Pest, knowing the lead that he has, is actually going to take a full heal here. Will give Fire a couple extra seconds. He's also going to farm some extra soul here. Super safe play from Pest. And don't blame him, you know, when you got nearly a 40-second advantage. Definitely kind of the right thing to do in a marathon setting. I'm sure if he was going for an actual attempt, he probably wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah, he'll go into Beast Den with 5 HP. Normally you'd be either at 4 here, optimally, or 3 if you unintentionally got hit once. Fire is at 3. That was a little scary. He accidentally fell off that platform instead of crystal dashing, but not going to lose him much time. Just thought he'd fall there for a second. He might be healing up too. 3 HP is a really scary place to be for a race. Again, you do have to get hit twice intentionally in Beast Den if you want to go as fast as possible, and we'll see those damage tanks pretty soon on Pest's screen.
Yeah, the trap bench ends up working you here. And also, fun fact, if you hold, I believe it's right, I'm not sure if it works left actually, you'll get the music from the trap bench persisting throughout the spin, which is pretty cool.
Yep, I think it's both directions. Pest has a good first devout tank. You saw him run into the face here. The reason we dash into the face and not get hit by the blades is because the blades do 2 damage and his face only does 1 damage. So we would much rather just take the 1 damage. If we took the 2 damage, we would be damage tanking 5 HP in the split. That's a lot. He gets hit once by the spider, once into the spikes, which doesn't reset your iframes. So now Pest at 2 HP is a lot scarier. There is, as we were mentioning, 1 more damage tank at the end of this split, which he can afford to do if he doesn't get hit again. And there's the grub.
He bowed to the grub too. Oh my god, that was so adorable.
The respect.
Gotta love Pest showing the extra respect to the grub. We love you, buddy. The 3 fireballs here and the last damage tank into the fireball down to 1 HP. Seems scary. It's not entering the dream cutscene here. He is going to refresh his HP. fireb0rn, in the meantime, does not get double hit on the spikes. That would have been a death there if he had taken that. We have seen that happen time and time again in runs. That spider is obnoxious, and fire does save the grub. He is not happy about it. He even looked disdainfully back at the grub, like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this, man.
He's living. He's only at 1 HP. He can't do the damage tank strat here, but that doesn't lose him too much time. I was scared he was going to die on that devout. What is he doing? Both Umu and Beast and Fire is playing with his death, but still living, and he does the nail, fireball nail, but still doesn't get hit by the devout. How does he survive at 1 HP for half this run?
That is because if you go to youtube.com/fireb0rn, you will see the God Gamer himself in action, doing a whole bunch of different interesting things with Hollow Knight. Don't forget to follow the runners, by the way. Also, twitch.tv/fireb0rn, that is fireb0rn with a 0, and PestilentBox2. So this is the end of the game, pretty much. We're heading on the way to Hollow Knight to wrap things up. And we're just going to grab this last station here, the last of the geo that we're going to be spending. Only 14 left for Pest, not too bad on the routing there. And now we go on to face the Hollow Knight. Double hit's going to be at a premium. Lots of parries that the Hollow Knight can do. RNG in terms of what different attacks he can get. It can be an opportunity, depending, for fireb0rn to catch up more than a few seconds here, but he's in tough.
Yeah, he's against Pest, and Pest is super well known, obviously the world record holder here, but super well known for his THK, or the Hollow Knight fight. Even just a little pause there on this split to just save, you know, a few tenths of a second or whatever it is. Every frame counts. But yeah, Pest THK is absolutely insane. One more look down from Fire for good measure. He'll be following Pest to Dirt. Again, he is behind, but this has been a really good race. Just the one issue with Umu that fireb0rn had, and really out of his control there. 2 extra attacks, and barely misses the 2 cycle even with those 2. So a super good showing from both of these runners.
Yeah, absolutely. Pest is entering the final room now, has 4 chains to break here on the Hollow Knight first hit. I will mark the time on that one. Looks like about, yeah, still roughly 40-second advantage for Pest here, so he's got a lot of leeway. And you can play it pretty safe.
Yeah, this race may be telling of how Hollow Knight runs feel sometimes, where hardly anything matters until you get up to Umu and you have to get that 2 cycle. It's just such a big time difference. But we'll start the Hollow Knight fight now.
A couple extra slashes here to farm some soul. Jumps over, gets another couple slashes in. Fireball, parry. First of possibly many parries from the Hollow Knight jumping over. Again, another fireball, gets the stag. No, not quite. The dash over there is an opportunity to get double hit. You want to see a lot of those attacks.
Yeah, and the hitbox for that double hit may be a little lower than you'd expect. You can stay really low, not get hit by him, and still get your fireball to hit both. Unfortunately, we're not seeing Pest show it off too much, just not getting dashes, but there's one. He'll get a second double, and he's 3 for 3 on doubles now. Parry by far the worst attack. Pest has gotten a few, but honestly not too bad or too good RNG from Pest so far. And as I say that, he's getting so many more dashes, it might actually be pretty good THK RNG. He's definitely playing it well.
Yeah, so when the Hollow Knight is staggered at any given point, there's no point in fireballing. He only takes 1 hit point of damage. Another parry on fireb0rn's side does get the stagger. Couple fireballs squeezed in, not getting a whole lot in the way of dashes. Did get a few of them early, and gets another one now. Pest, in the meantime, is approaching the final phase. Goes for the screen skip and just misses it. Does lose him a few seconds, but he is in good shape here. A couple extra splashes to farm up the soul. A few more fireballs. Does get the jumping attack. And a couple more hits here, and he should be able to close it out, and he does. Time will be when the screen fades to black.
GG to Pest here. Fire toward the last stages of the Hollow Knight fight. Again, just to demonstrate how close of a race this was, how well the runners did. Fire's having a pretty good THK fight on his own right. And Fire could still show off the Scream skip, which I hope we get to see. Oh, I thought that was Scream. But yeah, if you get hit in the Hollow Knight's head while he screams, you actually regain control of the character, and this is a really good setup if Fire goes for it here. It looks like he's gonna, and yeah, I'll show it off. Falls right into his head, and now we can wail at THK, whereas normally the game would like you to be stunned here. And a really quick last phase from Fire.
Yeah, belated call, by the way, on time there. We'll mark it as the vessel's eyes light up, so you can hit the time. And we will see what it is. Pest doesn't have his splits up, so we'll see what Fire's time ends up being, but it will be about a 40-second differential or so as Fire wraps it up and collects Radiance. And he is posting a 34:11, so that will give Pest approximately a 33:30, which is nuts for a marathon setting. GG to both runners.
Yeah, really good game to both guys. Just a few years ago, 33:30 would have been record. Like, it's insane how far these guys have come. It's just crazy, man.
Now, this game has come a long way. A friendly reminder, if you enjoyed what you saw here, go ahead and follow fireb0rn, twitch.tv/fireb0rn, and his YouTube, same for PestilentBox2. And if you want to join the Hollow Knight speedrunning community, go to speedrun.com/hollow_knight, and there you will find the Discord link that will get you to jump on in. They also have a randomizer, which has been receiving a lot of updates in the past few months, and it's looking pretty good. So if you wanted to re-experience this game in all its glory, but finding out where things are again, go ahead and check that out. It's pretty awesome. Coming up next, Ori and the Will of the Wisps bonus game. Thank you very much, by the way, guys, for putting that in. Any percent easy, no out of bounds by Sikinar. Throwing it back to you, Brutal.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. What an awesome run. Can we get some hype in the chat for that? All right, we have a $50 donation